Welcome, welcome, welcome to Health Issues. I'm your host, Chris Sylvain, and I am so thoroughly excited about today's show. We have an esteemed guest who, truly an honored guest that we have today. We actually have the chairman of the Republican Party in Louisiana, but he's also one of the vice chairman of the National Republican Party, Mr. Roger Villere. Thank you, Mr. Villere.
Thank you, Chris. Glad to be here. Appreciate it.
Well, we are excited to have you here at Health Issues. We are. And but before we even get started, tell us a little bit about Mr. Roger Villere.
Okay. Well, born and raised in New Orleans. Was born at Touro Hospital. Been here my whole life. Family's been here, and family's been here for a long time. It's we were some of the founders of Louisiana. One of my great grandfathers came over with Iberville and Bienville when they first discovered the city, and so we've been around. The family's been here a long, long time. My third great grandfather, Jacques Villere, was the first native-born governor of Louisiana, and he was the second governor after we became a state. So he had actually run against Claiborne and lost. So even back then, the incumbents, because Claiborne was the appointed governor, had an advantage. So we've been around, been in politics a long time. He was on Jacques' father was on one of the first original councils that helped develop the city of New Orleans and developed our Constitution, and Jacques was on the Constitutional Convention that developed our state constitution, and myself been very active. We have a business, Villere's Floors.
Right.
My wife and I started back in 1969. We were very young. I was 19, she was 18.
Okay.
And we started our own little business and built it up. And today we have a real nice business, and we have one store in Metairie and one store in Covington.
Yeah.
We have about 11 family members work with us, so it's a big family of floors. We have you know, a number of other great employees, and you know, so we've been here for a long time. I have 3 sons, 4 granddaughters.
Wow.
And
you know, my 3 sons.
There you go, my 3 sons. So they've all, over the last couple of years, come to work in the business, and we enjoy working with them. And it's great when you can see your kids growing up and growing in the business and giving back to the community. We're all involved in the community. They coach ball and volunteer and at the playgrounds and work. My wife's been a volunteer for over 30 years at Lakeshore Playground, and she coaches volleyball. And
really, she's an athlete, huh?
Oh yeah, she loves that. She loves to play ball. Matter of fact, her and my youngest son left this morning to go to Florida for a volleyball day, a sand volleyball tournament. He's in the tournament, and she's going to cheer him on.
Does she play?
She did play until last year, and she's had some issues with her knee, so she's got to take care of that. But she loves playing ball. Volleyball is her passion, and she loves coaching children, and you know, we're working that out. I usually volunteering in the community, been real involved with the Bicentennial Commission. We just had our 200th anniversary, and was just appointed to the Bicentennial for the Battle of New Orleans, so I'll be on that commission. And you know, I've served in a lot of different capacities in the community. I was chairman of our local JCs. I was chairman of the local Kiwanis Club, and served as chairman of the on East Jefferson Hospital's foundation board. So when talk about healthcare, something that's dear to me, I was on the foundation board and actually served as chairman of that in the past. So I understand how medical care and is so important to our community and to all of us. So those are some of the things that we do, and you know, I got involved politically years ago because of all the issues we had trying to start our business and open a second location and getting the permits and working with City Hall and working with the parish governments. It was tough, and you know, one time we had a number of stores in the city of New Orleans. Right now I don't have any. I have one in Metairie and one in Covington, but I had a place in Jack's Brewery for a while. I had a place right next to the Baptist Hospital for a while. I had one on Canal Street in one of the hotels for a while. And then we had one in New Orleans East at the Plaza for a while. So, you know, we've had multiple stores, but it's tough. You're in your own business. You understand what that is. Being in business, having a small family, really trying to raise enough money. We didn't come from a family of a lot of wealth. We had 7 kids in my family. My dad worked for the post office, and my mom was a teacher. So, when you got 7 kids, and it's tough.
Yeah, the strong survive.
It's the strong survive. So, we built a good business, but like everyone else, you've had challenging times with all the storms that have come along, and with the up and down in the economy. It's something you have to deal with, and you have to learn how to work that out.
Hey, you have to do it. Very, very active. Do you sleep? Wow, a lot going on.
I don't sleep much. I can get along with just a few hours sleep a night.
Make it happen. But that's good. I mean, again, being in the community, being able to help people and work, and that's so important. But I guess something that we looked at earlier, being the chairman of the Republican Party, you guys have been awesomely successful in Louisiana. Whereas I don't know if there's probably any state where, if you think about a business, you think about market share.
Right.
And you guys have a huge amount of market share in the state of Louisiana. And it's like it just blew up, what, about 10, 15 years ago? When did it happen?
Well, it actually, I became chairman, I've been chairman 8 years now, I'm going to my 9th year. And when I took over, we had only one statewide elected official. Fox McKithen was the only elected Republican when I was elected. We didn't have either one of our U.S. senators, and I think we had only 5 congressmen back then. So, and we didn't have control of of either house in Baton Rouge. We didn't have control of the Bessie Board or the Public Service Commissioner or the, really, we were a party that hadn't really grown. Since Reconstruction, the Republican Party had not been a viable party in Louisiana. We'd won a few races. We had elected Dave Treen as governor. Buddy Roma had been elected as a Democrat, and when he was running for re-election, he decided to switch, and he switched from Democrat to Republican. But we had only elected one Republican governor.
Was Pinchback a Republican?
Pinchback was, but he was appointed. He wasn't elected. He rose to it and served as a Republican, but that had been back in Reconstruction, so it had been a long time. So Governor Mike Foster switched. He had been a Democrat his whole life, had served I think 3 terms in the state Senate as a Democrat, and was 63 or 64 years old, and he switched to Republican the day he qualified to run for governor. So, it had been a long time since we really elected a Republican that had been a Republican for a while, and he'd come up through the Republican ranks. And today, we have every statewide elected official. All our constitutional offices are Republican. We have both houses, the State House and the State Senate, are Republican. We have the Republican Speaker and a President of the Senate.
That's a revolution.
It is. That we have the majority on the Bessie Board, which is like the statewide school board. We have the majority on the Public Service Commissioner, and that's the first time I think in history that's ever happened. And then we elected a majority on the state Supreme Court. So all 3 levels of government now in Louisiana, both the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch are now all Republican. So it's really a change. It's a sea change in the last 8 years, and we've done that by getting people to work together, by bringing all different factions. We're a party made up of many different groups of people. We have old line traditional Republicans. You have Republicans who were Democrats but were conservative Democrats and saw the National Democratic Party move to this real leftist liberal philosophy and really moved away from the old Southern conservative movement, and they felt much more at home in the Republican Party. We have a lot of traditional Republicans and evangelicals that feel more comfortable with the Republican Party because of the extreme positions of the Democratic Party on some of the issues like marriage and like abortion and things like that they felt more comfortable being in with the Republican Party. and then you had your what we call country club Republicans that come from a higher income, and big money, and then you have your Republican elected officials who are for so long we're used to being in a minority that they have really been that's been one of the biggest adjustments we've had, is learning how to lead, because we've learned how to fight in the minority, because they've done it for 100 years. So and you were trained on how to do that, but it's different when you have to lead, and they're elected to lead now, and they're not fighting the minority anymore. They're the majority. So yeah, right now they fight one another because they're trying to develop, you know, what they want to do and how they want to move forward. So it's a whole new time in history, you know.
But what's interesting though is that, you know, okay, in Louisiana, Republican Party is totally taken over, you know, in any way, shape, or form, as you say. I mean, from almost every area of government. But then nationally, have been able to seal a deal, you know what I mean? Go all the way to the altar and never able to, you know, make
well, that's true, and I think that they're going through that growing pains nationally. We've had some in the national party. It's like anything else. You go through a time of having strong leaders and having leaders that maybe didn't have the background and the strength they needed. You've had leaders who were able to bring coalitions together and build the party, and the party rose up and did well. You had people like Haley Barbour who worked really hard and understood how to do it, and you had other people that just didn't understand what it took to bring the party together. And so they're still going through some growing pains, but we have a chairman, Reince Priebus, I think now, that's trying to reach out to everyone. He's worked extremely hard to bring all factions together. And we are a party of many facets. We're a party from many different backgrounds, but basically we're a conservative party. We're a party that believes in strong values and morals. We believe in individual freedoms, freedom of religion. We believe in economic freedoms. We think that's really important. It's Second Amendment's important to us. Freedom of speech is important to us. And so many times you look at the Democrats and they want to stop speech. You know, they want to stop what you can say and how you can do it. They want to control who can talk and what they can say. They want to control, the Second Amendment to them. They want to control who can have guns, and I think that it's important when you look at the history of the country and really the world, the peoples that can protect themselves. You're not going to have dictators. You're not going to have tyrants come in and take over the country, and because they can protect themselves. And the people that want to take that away, that right away, I think are very short-sighted. Because if you can't defend yourself and you can't defend your family, then you become a ward of the state, and you have to hopefully that they'll get out there. You know, when you call the police department, they don't come out for 20 minutes, and you got some guy, there threatening you. You have to be able to take care of yourself. So
with a magnum. Question though.
Yes.
All right. Now. All right. Use myself as an example. Okay. All right. I'm a pastor. Yes. Okay. Very conservative Christian. Right. All right. Yes. I'm a small business owner, very small business owner. Believe in family values, and so forth. I never think about joining the Republican Party.
But you are a Republican. You just don't realize.
Wait, the thought, when I say the thought, it would be like going to Mars. Like, hey, Chris is a Republican. No way, he'll go to Mars first. Because the thing of it is, and I always say that African American men, particularly, I look at, and even Hispanic men, I know, African American men, particularly Hispanic men, they're the most conservative men. I mean, more conservative than most Caucasians. I don't know. Most white folk, they're very, very conservative. Family values. 95%. But like I say, I go to the prison on Wednesday nights. And I go to the prison. Those guys are very, very conservative. But they're in jail. You know what I mean? In other words, the conservative values. They're important. But then when we look at the Republican Party, two issues. That's just the point. Hypocrisy and racism. Not for yourself. Great guy. You know I love you. We're right there. We're good. But it seems to be tolerated. Let's start with hypocrisy. The issue of caring, Christian values particularly. You know, the Jesus I know loved the poor. He focused on those who didn't have. He focused on people that, if they didn't have health care, it would be abhorrent to Jesus to say, wait a minute, you don't have health care. How can we allow you to be sick if you don't have health care? You know what I mean? If women were homeless, I can see if we say men can be homeless, how could women be homeless with children, old ladies and so forth, you know, kids that aren't educated, abortion, you know, as, you know, forgot the guy's name, Louisiana right to life. They'll say it over and over again. The birth control pill, if we say life begins at conception, the birth control pill causes abortion. I don't know anybody with 20 kids out there. You know what I mean? It's like, so everybody's having abortions. You know, that just being realistic. If they're on the pill, you know, they're having abortions, and we have to decide that that's a conversation that needs to be had. But I don't see it being had truthfully. I see it a different thing. Then if we go over to the racism issue, there again, you know, again, to go to the prison, all African Americans, 99.55%, you know, in prison for drug crimes, which black folk don't even use drugs, not as much. You know, it's like white folk are using many more weed and cocaine and everything else like that, but only blacks proportionally are getting arrested. So again, I don't see the Democrats doing anything about it either, for that matter. But still, the party of conservative values and of Christian values, it becomes almost like, man, I mean, we love the talk. I'm be honest with you, we're excited about that. But to see it go out in legislation, true legislation, when it's time to line up those votes in Baton Rouge, when it's time to get those guys to say, wait a minute, I know how you feel, we know how you guys feel, but when the votes come out, all right, when we see the end result of the vote, regardless of what the verbal intention was, the end result of the vote, when 70% of a neighborhood is in prison, of the males, when we see women out there homeless, and when we see kids who their parents couldn't really help them, but nobody's saying that, hey, what can we do to help the least of these as a society? You know, that there is no societal responsibility, and we can't put it on churches because they're trying to pay the rent. You know what I mean? And so when those conversations start happening, and I think at that point, you know, then we can say, hey, sounds good.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because we are controlling the major elected positions in the state of Louisiana, but we just took control. We just took control. For the last 100 years, it's been controlled by Democrats. We just took control. We didn't take control 50 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. It was just a couple of years ago on the State House. A lot of these people have been in jail 10, 15, 20 years. They were jailed by Democrats. They were jailed by Democratic governors, Democratic attorneys, U.S. attorneys, Democratic attorney generals, Democratic DAs. The majority of the DAs in the state are still Democratic. They're not Republican. Majorities of the sheriff are still Democratic, not Republican. So when you look at the Democratic Party, is the party that has jailed the minorities. The Democratic Party are the ones that created situations with the drug use and with the courts where you're put in because they're not helping to have small businesses grow in the minority community. I remember when I was younger and I was in high school, and I worked at Chonic the Florist. That's how I got involved in the flower business. Worked on St. Charles Avenue, and I worked in the greenhouse, and I worked unpacking flowers, and we had a lot of African Americans working there. I'd ride with the guys, and we'd go stop like for breakfast and eat. All these little small African American businesses, and we'd stop. Boy, they had the best grits and eggs and ham. They were all closed. They didn't go out because all these big national companies have come in. Well, that's because the Democrats work with these big national companies to not help the small businesses, not promote small business. Not the Republicans. We believe in helping small business. We want to grow small business. We haven't had the opportunity. We just really took over. Our governor is trying to do away with a lot of our state income taxes and the local business tax to allow local businesses to grow. And everybody's fighting them. They're even fighting among themselves. Because what they don't understand is you got to help individuals start business. Free enterprise is the way to freedom. You have to have help individuals start. It's tough starting a business. I started. You know, the first year I was in business, I made no money. I took no salary. The second year I took $25 a week. The third year I took $50 a week. The fourth year I took $75 a week. And we, you know, lucky thing my wife worked. She had another job. And she worked for an engineering company and made an income. We lived off her income. I put every nickel that we made back in the business. We didn't take any money out. We spent years and years. You either have to have money or time. We were very young. I was 19 when I started. We had time, so we put everything back in the business. We need to help and mentor individuals, work with our colleges, work with whether it's UNO, Southern, Delgado. I went to Delgado and took horticulture because I wanted to learn that. Then I went to, you know, later on when I got older, I wanted to learn more about politics because I was having trouble with my business and getting my permits. I went to UNO and then I went to Loyola for Institute of Politics. I'm on the board over there now. I'm vice chairman of Loyola Institute of Politics. So, but I went and did that on my own. Took Louisiana and American history at Tulane because I was interested in that. I went to LSU Baton Rouge and took political science because I was interested in that and learned. So I helped educate myself. But I had a fire and a passion to be in business. And we need to help that as a party and as individuals. We need to help African Americans develop their own business. We need to help other minorities develop their own business. And I think that it's something that's really important that we do. We need to have good schools. For so long, the Democrats controlled the school system, controlled the unions, controlled what happened, and we got terrible education going on in our minority schools, and yet we won't change it. We don't do anything to help. Well, what would be the best thing to keep all those kids out of school? Education, okay? Help education. You look in the city of New Orleans, they don't have a Republican as the police chief. They don't have a Republican as mayor. They don't have a Republican in charge of the jails. Those are all Democrats. This is not Republicans putting people in jail. It's the Democrats holding them back. It's almost, you know, as if they're using the black community and minority community just to go vote for them in, promising them something in the future. But it's a false promise because they never deliver. They always promise the same thing, but they never deliver. When did they get you out of bondage? When did they help educate your kids? When did they help start you and your business? These big, rich outsiders come in. They fight me all the time being in my own little business. You know, I'm always fighting in Baton Rouge because they don't understand. We're in a retail company. You know, and they talk about taxes. We have to collect taxes, sales tax, and remit it. We have all that expense of doing that. We have to, you know, as a small company, manage that and you know, go borrow money. Sometime at the end of the year, well, you make a profit, and I don't even have enough money to pay your taxes because we got inventory and receivables. People, you know, we have some accounts to charge, and then you have a certain amount of inventory. So you could say, well, gee, you know, I made $50,000 this year, okay? Well, heck, I got $25,000 in receivables and $20,000 in inventory. I don't even have any cash, and yet I have to go pay taxes. I got to pay, you know, unlike some of these rich politicians with these fancy Philadelphia lawyers that can get you out of paying the taxes, and they only paying 12 and 13 and 14%. And I heard, I think our president only paid 18%, making, you know, $900,000 a year. Well, you know, we're paying 35 and 40%, making 1/10 of that. But we have to go to the bank and borrow money to pay the taxes because we don't have the cash because it's on inventory and receivables. And it's not on your net cash that you got in the bank. It's on what, quote, profit. And so I think the Republican Party is the party of the minority community. We haven't done a good job reaching out and explaining that. We haven't spent enough time in the minority community. I mean, it's I have a lot of friends that invite me to go to, you know, a lot of black and minority type functions where we'll go and we'll have a particular pastor or something, and they're having something for their church. Or we'll have like the Zulu Ball. I've been there every year. I guess I missed this year. But it was a fun time. But I'm just saying, and you go there and you meet people and you see a lot of friends, and a lot of my employees. I have a lot of employees that love to go and work with us. But what I'm saying is, we need to reach out. We need to go and meet people and explain to them our values. The core values, to me, being pro-life. One of the big genocides is in the African American community, because look how many African Americans are aborted, much more than whites, and yet the Democrats are all for that. But about 70% of abortions are in the black community. And where are they going to open up the big new abortion clinic in the city? Right there on Napoleon Avenue. Is that in a white community? Heck no, it's right there by a black community. So all they're trying to do is abort black babies and make money on that. So what we need to do is look at what the Democrats are doing and what the Republicans are doing. The Democrats are just really good at talking a good game. But when you look at what they're doing, they're not doing very well. Our problem, we're out there working. I can tell you most of my friends, most of the friends, the associates that I work with in the business community and in the Republican Party donate a lot of money to charities. They donate a big percentage of what they make to various charities. Look at what the Democrats donate, very little. You don't see them on all the boards and committees. You don't see them giving their hard-earned dollars back. And the Republicans, just as a way of life, they appreciate what they did and how they earned it. I'm not saying everyone, just like I'm not saying every Democrat doesn't do it. There's a lot of good-hearted Democrats. I'm not being all-inclusive, but I'm talking about majorities. If you look at the majority Republicans and the majority Democrats, and you look who gives the most money to different communities, I would say, in the groups I run in, the charity organizations, whether it's for the schools, the colleges, the churches, the Republicans put up a lot of money, a lot of their hard-earned dollars.
You got a minute left.
Go ahead.
Challenge is, you sound great, but you don't sound like your governor or the person that was sent for president. Because when we look at the actual policies, they seem to be opposite. We got to run. We'll have you back again. We have to continue this conversation. We appreciate you, Mr. Villere. Healthissues2010.org is where you catch us on the web. But we have to get involved, and we have to fight for everything that we get. Thank you. We appreciate you. Watch us.